Hey, you are watching one of our precon reviews here on the MTG Thoughtcast. This is one of two. If you want to watch the entire episode of our Aetherdrift precon reviews and upgrade guides, you can click this link somewhere else on the screen, and you can go watch that. If not, enjoy the video that you just clicked on.
All right, let's dive in to Living Energy. So, as I've said, this is a teamer deck. This is green, blue, and red. Your face commander of this deck is Sahil, Radiant Creator, 1 and teamer for a legendary 4/4 human artificer. 2 lines of text. Whenever you cast an artificer or artifact spell, you get energy at an
Fire.
energy counter. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, you create a token that is a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types, has haste, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step.
Close enough. Welcome back, Mishra.
Exactly. Yeah, very, very Mishra-like. Very. I saw some other people talking about like red token creators for like a turn. This honestly isn't even too dissimilar from other Sahilis, right? This is not the first time Sahili has been at the helm of a commander deck, and
True.
this it's kind of her identity. The whole thing that she does, both on legendary creatures and planeswalkers, is she either generates artifacts or lets you do copies of artifacts. In just the instance of this version specifically, your copies are being generated off of your ability to pay energy, not mana. Um,
Lovely.
and it's cool. I mean, it's cool. It's you obviously what she wants you to be casting is obviously those 2 criterias on her own like card, but then if the rest of your deck is also filled out with other creatures that are just naturally generating you energy as well, which is the build more or less of what this deck is trying to do, like those are getting you energy, like especially if you're casting an artifact or an artificer that can generate you energy as well, like Sahili makes her own energy, then that card comes in and gets your energy, and then she makes a copy of it that then you can get that energy back again. It's a very interesting like power struggle up and down of like how much output can you get to then sink some of it back in to regenerate that output back out.
Yeah.
Again, the brain puzzle of maintaining an external resource outside of your mana.
Yeah, I love it. It
Um,
seems very fun, honestly.
yeah,
I mean, I loved playing Mishra, Eminent one. I think that was
I
the
believe.
Brothers War
Yep,
one.
I believe you're correct. Yep, the Grixis one.
Uh, I loved that kind of deck, that style of it, and I'm not an energy hater. I think it's cool. I love resource management. So having an external thing seems sick. And especially like I didn't even think about the fact, like you were saying, you could just pay the 3 energy, get something like this Whirler Virtuoso that just makes that 3 energy back. Oh, you've got a 5/5 all of a sudden.
Yep,
Very, very cool.
surprise. Yep. I think the most interesting thing about what this Sahili is able to do is that you are able to make a copy of any permanent you
Yeah,
control,
wild.
which is kind of spicy. Because like obviously the biggest one you'll want to hit is probably like a creature that comes with relevant Enter the Battlefield triggers or whatever. But if you've got
Doubling season.
yeah, if you've got anything sitting around that you want to make a token copy of for a turn, you could make an extra planeswalker, you could make an extra enchantment, you could make extra lands.
Yes.
They
Notably, it does not get rid of the legendary
No, it doesn't
ability,
do
right?
that. But like,
Got it.
these are just they're options that you could do. And
Totally.
yes, you do still have to sacrifice the permanent at your end step as well, but that can be accounted for if you want, like say you've got a enchantment that wants to be in your graveyard. You put one down on the battlefield, start making copies of it during your with Sahili, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can get your ETB, it can swing, and then it can die. Very
Oh,
very encore like. I like that aspect a lot.
ooh.
A just a quick number stats on here based on her own thingy of what she wants to see. In the build as is out of the precon, there are 8 other artificers and 26 artifacts for her triggers.
Yeah. That's a that's a great number. That's like 34 different ways to trigger her.
Yep, so like that's a little bit over a third of the deck will trigger her top line of text that
Seems
gives you
good to
an
me.
energy on cast. One of those artificers is going to be your backup commander of the deck, Pea Chief Mechanic. Green, blue, red, legendary 2/4 human artificer. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters. That's very cool. It scales with being able to hit multiple players, you know?
Of
So if
course.
you hit multiple people, they can each give you back energy. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, you create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar Aetherjet with flying crew 2, and the X in its power and toughness is equal to the amount of energy you spent this way.
So weird.
It's very weird, you know? So, like, if you dump a small amount of energy into it, like a crew 2 vehicle that only becomes like a 3 power is not crazy strong, but
Yeah.
it is still flying. It's a flying artifact creature.
Well, what I love is that Pia can crew the vehicle. And if you've gotten energy in your first 2 turns, this can come in and on the end step immediately make the vehicle.
Yep. It's very sick. Yeah, and then obviously this can be a sink to put in like tons of energy if you have a bunch built up because she does not ask for a specific requirement. You can pay whatever you feel is necessary. So if you're looking to make a smaller collection of flyers, now obviously yes, they're vehicles, so you're going to have your own creatures to be able to crew them. So
Yeah.
maybe small is not necessarily what you're going to want to do, but like if you're looking for somewhere to dump a bunch of your energy. Also, again, like I think the stronger part of this card is the amount of energy output that she can do in and of herself. Like
Yeah.
being able to hit your 3 opponents, make 6 energy back. That's going to be a tremendous boost that you're able to use.
I love it.
Um,
These
for
are
the
cool commanders. These are
yeah, for
objectively
the
cool things to do.
Yeah, for the facts for her, if you were going to run her as the commander, in the deck naturally are 6 other artifact creatures and 11 other cards that make artifact creature tokens in some
Sick.
capacity, like Thopters and Servos and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Love it.
So not as crazy high support in the deck for her than Sahili, but again, playing together, right? Sahili make copies of things that are artifacts in addition to their other types. And then Pia will be able to see those tokens as you're swinging them, generate your energy back so that you're ready to go on the off turn or as it gets around back to you to start making token copies of stuff all over again.
They work so well together.
Yeah, they're very, very neat. I like them. Kind of just how it goes, though. I would recommend playing Sahili out of the box, but you could do Pia. Technically, she comes down cheaper.
Yeah. This is a neat format for precons that they've really done on this one, as we'll get to when I talk about the Esper deck as well. But it feels like a deck that is really synergistic with the face commander, and the backup commander is almost a showcase of another thing that you could do. Whereas like Pia both works really well in this deck, and you could fine tune a Pia Nalar deck and have it be slapping as well. I love that they both have the full borderless treatment as well. That is sick. I love that we're doing that now.
That's a very nice feature to have. Like between your new legendary creatures being in borderless and then most of your staples in each deck being not only new art but different art from each other, it gives more incentive to want to pick up these kits.
Yes.
This also lends you to pick up all of the other new cards that come in the deck, which we're going to go ahead and get started talking about here. Starting at the top with Nissa, World Soul Shaper. It's a new legendary creature version of Nissa.
Lovely.
She's 3 and a green for a 3/3 legendary elf druid. Landfall. When a land enters under your control, you get 2 energy counters. And you can pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost of permanent spells you cast.
Hey, that rules.
So another very it's reminiscent of those cards they've been doing recently that are kind of like one shot, one spell omnisciency kind of things. Think like one with the multiverse, stuff like that you get. Not in omniscience directly, but like if you meet the conditions to be able to cast it, you get at least like a free spell
yes,
off of it.
Pseudo omniscience.
Mm-hmm. Landfall as a theme is not supported super heavy in this deck alone, but if she's down paired with the other pieces that come in this precon, you very easily can reach up to that 8 energy outside of her own ability.
Hey, Sahili can make a copy of a land.
She can. You're right. Yeah, that's the thing you could do. A land that's a 5/5 and goes swinging. Um,
Seems fine to me.
Yeah, it's neat that you can turn energy basically into any spell, no matter its cost or its colors or anything like that. And especially if you keep it focused within energy, if you're casting a really big dumb spell that's going to get you back more energy, like this is the sort of strategy on how an energy deck is looking to be. You're looking to do spells and permanents that use energy to create you energy.
Love it.
A flux up and down, basically. And Nissa's a very cool card to be able to keep the spells coming.
I dig it.
It's neat. Super cool. Pea Trailblazer is our next card. 2 and a green for a 3/3 Elephant Warrior with Trample. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters, so scales on its own power. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the new ability from Aetherdrift, Exhaust. Pay 6 energy, put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature, then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Exhaust is a keyword ability that is coming from Aetherdrift itself. It is a one-time activated ability that you can do, and from what we have seen so far, they generally are a bit cheaper to do, and will usually like pump up a creature's power or give you a really strong effect that like balances out the fact that the ability can only be activated once.
Yeah, on paper this sounds like a upkeeping nightmare of trying to remember which ones you've exhausted and which ones you haven't. But I actually came across a thread from Gavin Verhey talking about how most of the exhaust abilities put +1/+1 counters on creatures. So it's very easy to tell, like, oh, this has counters on it. That means I did its exhaust ability. So it's kind of it's a round of applause for the design team on exhaust for figuring out how to do an arena-esque ability that's not just a tracking nightmare.
Yep, it's cool. I mean, it does suck. You can only do the thing once unless the creature is refreshed. This is actually one of the cool things that you can do with Sahili. If you start making copies of this, the copy is a new permanent that
It becomes
has not...
a 5/5.
It becomes a 5/5 that it is a new... The token copy is a new permanent that you could keep doing exhaust on if need be.
It becomes a 5/5. Can hit somebody, get you 5 energy immediately, and then on the second main phase before you sacrifice it, you could pay 6, put 2 counters on it, and draw 7 cards.
Potentially.
Oh, that's bananas.
It is very cool. It's not my favorite in the deck as a whole, but it's neat. It's one of the things that like definitely has the most like ceiling to be able to create you the most energy per se. And anything that scales off of its own power, you know, play any of those types of cards that start modifying power and toughness or counters or things of that nature. Again, duplicates, copies, myriad, token generation, that kind of stuff. You know, these are great. The ceiling is quite high, but as a whole, it's totally fine. It's a cool little guy. It's neat that he comes down early as well. He's only a 3-drop.
Yeah, he's lovely.
As compared to our next friend, Rampaging Aether Hood. Easily my favorite art that's in this set. Friggin' Ron Spencer nailed it with this. It's very cool. 4 and a green for a 4/4 Snake Hydra. It's got Trample, Ward 2. Excuse me. At your upkeep, you get an amount of energy counters equal to this creature's power. Then you may pay 1 or more energy, and if you do, you put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature.
Oh, nice.
It's a very similar feel to like the Trailblazer that we were just talking about, that like the actual output that this thing can give you is scaling, deterministic, based on its power.
Yeah, it kind of becomes an energy bank for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you just start storing it. That's kind of, it seems like that's what they want to do with this here, considering it's got ward. So like you just want
dividends.
Yeah, so you just want to have it sit there, start banking up 1/1 counters and energy, and then every upkeep you could guarantee have the input you need for like Sahili or Pea or anything else in the deck that cares about you paying energy into it.
Yeah. I mean, even if you decide not to use the ability at all, it's just 4 free energy every turn.
Yep, which is enough to fuel Sahili at least.
Right.
But it is not my favorite card in this deck. My favorite card in this deck is Stride Hanger Automaton. A
Let's
three
get into
color,
it.
yeah, 3 mana for a 1/4 artifact construct. Thopters you control get +1/+1, and
Top
if
top.
one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional Thopter is created instead.
Yeah, 1/1 colorless Thopter with flying.
Yep, dope, amazing.
This
This
is
is so
incredible.
cool. This is your Chatterfang for Thopters.
Yes.
Easily. This is your
Bananas.
it's not quite manufacturer, it's not quite academy manufacturer, but it's like it's Chatterfang. There's this like green white legendary creature from Dominaria that like makes you a soldier every time a token is created. Well,
Right.
it's like Paragon
Yeah, there's
Took
like
that makes you.
Paragon Took. There's a handful of
Yep.
these. I would say with the Academy Manufacturer comparison, this not only does it work unbelievably well in conjunction with Academy Manufacturer, but it actually impacts the board, which is something that Academy Manufacturer does not do. Making you a food, treasure, and a clue every time that you would make one of the 3 of those is definitely good at fueling your strategy. But Stride Hanger is going to be putting 2/2 flyers on the board every time you make a treasure. Just
Yeah, or
for sitting there.
anytime you make a treasure, anytime you make a clue, anytime you make another Thopter or a Servo or Sahili makes a token, right? Those
Right.
copies she makes are tokens.
It's
Anytime,
narrow that it needs an artifact token, but it's
sure, but
really good, dude. This is
we've
there.
got, yeah, we've got tons of artifact tokens now. Like, again, every creature that could come down as an artifact token, and then clues, blood, treasures, map, food, junk, all of it. Rocks.
Rocks. I was gonna say I'm not gonna harp on it for too long, but my Togo deck is definitely looking for a Stride Hanger Automaton to make some Thopters.
No, it's amazing. Master Thopterist, comes in the deck
Oh,
naturally as well. So like you slam Psy and then you get this
just
thing
make
down.
2 Thopters every artifact.
Yep, every artifact comes with 2 free flyers as well that can either be used offensively or can be used right into Psy's ability to draw cards. It's like
Oh
it's
yeah,
crazy. It's so cool. I wish this thing kind of maybe came with a little bit of protection, but as it stands, it's got a high toughness. It just sits there, pops you out Thopters. It's crazy cool. It's my
totally.
favorite card in the deck.
Yeah, I really want to know what Wizards like. Why do they put ward on certain things but not on others? For example, the snake that you just talked about, the Aetherhood
Hmm.
does have ward 2, but is already a 4/4 with trample. Like that's already a threat on the board, but this doesn't get it.
I I don't know. I'm not a designer. I couldn't tell you what the reasoning is behind that, but
True.
doesn't have it.
Anyway, this is a sick card.
Yeah. As compared to Territorial Aether Kite. This is 4 and double red for a 6/5 cat dragon. Flying, haste, and when this creature enters, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. And when you do, this creature deals that much damage to each other creature.
Lame.
Yeah, this is also this I feel like is the weakest new card in the deck. I want to
Yeah,
say, right? Because like,
I just don't love dragons just as a whole. Like that mana cost for it's cool that it has haste. I'm glad that it does. Like 6 mana to immediately hit somebody for 6 with haste, and at the very least, Pyroclasm on its own is a lot for one thing. I just feel like it's kind of a boring card.
it is, yeah, and like these kinds of cards, like obviously decks do need to have wraths. I do understand why this is here, but again, a wrath that even ones that you can flex how much, like there's like you said, there's no guarantee you'll even have any energy when you go to cast this,
Exactly.
and a Pyroclasm isn't going to hit much anything anyways. Like
Not on
you
turn 6, that's for sure.
You could also just be wiping your own board if like
Right.
you have to pay a certain amount to take care of somebody else's creature, but then it clears your board as well. Like you
That's
set
always
your
kind of my problem in decks like this is like I would I'm devastated when somebody board wipes me when I'm playing a deck with 27 creatures in it. So having something that's going to board wipe myself when it enters is just not incredible.
nah, not where I want to be. I suppose it's somewhat interesting if you continue to make clones of this with Sahili, that like you put three in, it gives you two back, and then you every turn can keep paying energy into it, like not enough to kill Sahili. You just keep the board constantly clear of like
Sure.
I don't know, what's Sahili? Sahili's a 4/4, so like three. So I don't know if you had enough energy floating around, you could perpetually keep doing three damage to all creatures. Like
Yeah, for
that's
net -1.
yeah, like that's neat, but that's a lot of setup just to kill mana dorks.
100% it is. Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah,
with you on this one. It's kind of a lame card.
totally fine, but not anything special. As compared to probably my second favorite card that's in this deck because we love a good cranial planing, and this is our new version of it. This is Adaptive Omni Tool, a 2 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control,
That's a
and
good line of text.
whenever it attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand, and the rest to the bottom in a random order, and it equips for 3.
Yeah, I think in this precon, it's going to be look at the bottom 6 cards of your library, but
Well, I mean,
you
again, I
build
did.
around it a little bit.
Yeah, I
Now you're
did go.
cooking.
I did go over those stats. There are 26 artifacts in the deck total. Omnitool counts as one of those, so
Sure.
25 other artifacts in the deck,
Yeah,
plus
I
the
think I'd like to
plus
see
the.
that be like 36 to 40 for this to consistently hit something.
hmm I do love this. Is doesn't care at all about energy. Like this is very transferable into a
100%.
variety of shells, right? If you're already
Togo
playing,
probably wants this.
yeah, if you're already playing cranial plating, this is probably something you want.
I'm playing cranial plating and cranial ram already.
Yep, it's just another one of these. It's
I
super
love it.
cool. I'm a big fan. Um, Moving on to Aether Flux Conduit. 6 mana for an artifact that when you cast a spell, you get an amount of energy equal to that spell's equal to the amount of mana you spent to cast that spell. Not necessarily
They unbroke it.
unbroke it. And then you can tap it and pay 50 energies to draw 7 cards, and you can cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana costs.
That's dope.
Sick, yes. This is clearly a like riff on Aetherflux Reservoir, which was a
Which is one of your
another.
favorite cards.
It's one of my favorite cards. Yes. You would think I would love this, but it's also like it's just kind of whatever. I think right. 6 mana to get down and get going, and then even in a deck that is going to be basically every spell you cast will be generating you energy, like it's quite tough to get to you essentially need to put 50 mana value into this for it to even start doing anything,
Yeah,
really.
having to cast all of that as well, like and only tracking off of the mana spent to cast spells. I mean, what's that gonna take? This costs 6, so the next turn you're maybe spending 7 mana on something, and
hmm
then so on and so forth. So this is probably not firing off until turn 14 ish.
Yeah, it's going to take quite a bit to go through. I mean, I suppose there's a cute little synergy, I suppose, where like you have this one down, and then Sahili makes a token copy of it, and then you do get to have that copy until the end of the turn. So you go to your second
Yes,
main,
you can get
then
twice as much energy as mana. So
yeah,
that's
even
nice.
even then, you're probably still doing like a 2 to 3 turnish setup to just draw 7,
Yes,
and like not to discredit that isn't a strong ability. The ability it does is quite strong. I just think there's a little too high of a ceiling to get there for
for
it to
sure.
even be worthwhile. With just with
Listeners of the future, when you're watching this video looking for how to upgrade this deck, please comment below and let us know how you've won with Aether Flux Conduit, because it's going to create some unbelievable stories and I would like to hear them.
Our last new card in the deck is Aetheric Amplifier, a 3 colorless mana for an artifact. It taps to make 1 mana of any color, or for 4 mana, tap it. You choose one only as a sorcery. It either doubles the number of each kind of counter on target permanent, or doubles the number of each kind of counter you have.
Yes, 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 yes. This is sick.
This is a very cool card, yeah. And in my research, this is one of the first ones I believe that's able to double the counters you have.
Yes.
I believe. I don't think there's anything else that does that. We've seen cards before that are able to double the kinds of counters, but and again, it's not limited to 1/1 counters. So if you've got something that's stacked on like storage counters or 1/1 counters, obviously as well, but like anything else that cares about the counters on a permanent of some kind, a planeswalker, loyalty counters, that's the first thing I thought of.
Yes, of course.
And then yeah, being able to double on yourself as well. Like clearly in this deck, it wants to do energy, but you could also hit yourself for experience counters if you're playing a commander that cares about experience counters.
Yes, lovely.
I don't really know what other counters on you'd want to double. You clearly wouldn't want to
double your poison. Just take yourself
out. Kill yourself twice as fast.
You can't kill me. I quit.
No, it's neat. The fact that all of this comes on a mana rock as well, so like it's proactive the turn that you play it, and then when you are ready to start using it as a resource for your counters instead of mana, it's sitting there ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
These are always kind of dangerous though. Like, I guess just now thinking about it in this kind of modern era of Commander where they're stapling effects like these onto your mana rocks, these could start to be quite dangerous to play in your deck if your pod is heavy removal. Because, like, they probably will, like, back in the day, no one really gave two concerns about blowing up people's mana rocks unless you were really, really heavy on resource denial.
If you're really greedy, then, like, yes, I am going to blow up your Chromatic Lantern.
Yeah, but like you play something like this, someone is going to latch on to the bottom part of that, and then you will inherently also lose your mana in turn of doing that.
Yeah, so definitely worth considering.
Yeah, worth considering, but you know, obviously be careful with playing something like this. You know, you don't want to run this out and not be able to activate it at least once before somebody blows it up.
Of course.
But I do like it for planeswalkers, for experience counters, for energy counters, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very cool.
Well, that's like 9 out of 10 new cards that are sick.
They're very cool, yeah. And then that's not even to now as we start rolling into the reprints as well. Like the reprints pile is decent for this deck as well.
Very good.
Your number one top hit in this deck is going to be Academy Ruins.
Yes.
Legendary land that either makes colorless or for 1 and a blue, tap, puts a target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. As we talked about earlier, there's about a third of the deck is artifacts, so this is a land that is able to recur a large portion of what the deck is looking to do.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very, very sick. That kind of recursion on a land is ridiculous. It's just going to sit there. You can threaten to activate it. Like, it's your protection for your Stride Hanger Automaton. Like, it doesn't need ward because you just have an Academy Ruins in play. Stupid good.
I love it's not locked to sorcery speed either as well. So
totally.
If you've got the card in your graveyard and somebody is threatening a spell to exile it, whoop, right to the top it goes.
Well, and you can just like hold up this Arcane Denial that's in the deck, and like on the very last second, if you haven't had to counter anything, like you can just spend that mana and recur an artifact.
Yep. But you can make copies of Elder Gargaroth, who's in here for some reason.
There, dude.
5 mana, 6/6, Vigilance, Reach, Trample. When it attacks or blocks, you choose between either creating a 3/3 Beast token, gaining 3 life, or drawing a card.
I mean, it's a great card to begin with. Like, it's got great stats. It's got keyword soup, and it's got a charm attached to it on attacking or blocking. I think that's the important part. is that you can use Sahili. You can make a copy of it, which can attack, and you can get one of the abilities, and then you can just leave, or I guess you get to attack with both of them because they have vigilance. Draw 2 cards or whatever, and then leave back the other one to block to potentially draw 3 cards in a cycle off of this. So I
Yep.
stand by this is a ridiculous card and should definitely be in this deck.
Yep. Just a good green card, you know?
Yep,
Just good
for sure.
green card. Other good stuff we've gotten here. Retrofitter Foundry. It's a very fun
God, what a card.
upcycler of artifacts.
Yes.
Can turns servos into Thopters, turns Thopters into constructs. It's very, very cool. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of it.
In my experience, all it does is turn Thopters into 4/4 constructs.
That's
And
very
then you can just pay 3 and untap it and do it again.
Yep.
And then, oh, by the way, because you have your Stride Hanger Automaton in play, you're going to make a construct and a Thopter, which you can then sacrifice the Thopter, make a construct and a Thopter. And you just
Nice, yeah.
it's so good.
Um, Triplicate Titan is another big hit in here as well. It's a
It,
big 9 mana 9/9 that it's very like it's
Worm
very
Coil
worm
Engine.
coil engine-y. Yeah. It dies and pops out into a golem with flying, a golem with vigilance, and a golem with trample. Super cool.
Yep. I like
Very
that.
fun. Very fun to make the token
Oh,
copies of with Sahili
yes.
because it'll die at the end step. So like your
It's
5/5 will
actually a little shocking to me that Worm Coil Engine's not in the deck.
I mean, they never like giving us worm coil, you know?
It's true, but I think I would maybe run that over Triplicate Titan just because it's 6 mana versus 9. But
Yep,
anyway,
I agree. That'd be a good upgrade change to do. Other really decent hits in here. You've got Druid of Purifications, a very fun artifact remover. No, I've learned lately though, nobody likes to play along with the choosing artifacts or enchantments. So in nine times out
everyone
of
just points to one thing.
yeah, 9 times out of 10, it is a worse Reclamation Sage, to be honest, because it's 1 mana more. But
Right.
when you can get people to play along with you, it's very, very fun. I'm a
Well,
big
there's
fan of
neat
it.
ways to sort of game it a bit because you get a vote as well. That you can like vote for the second worst thing, assuming that everybody is going to vote for the best thing and kind of like gain some favor, like garner the table's attention that way. Um, I love it. I love Druid of Purification.
Yeah, I guess that's just my personal experience, though,
First
that nobody likes playing along with this. You also got Lightning Greaves in here, classic. We
classic.
love seeing those around. It's got new art in this set as well, which is super
Great new
cool.
art.
I'm a big fan of that. Panharmonicon, favorite of mine. We love doubling ETVs. It's
Of
very
course.
cool.
Of course.
Um, and weirdly, Carplusian Forest is also another high in the
Yeah, because they
lands.
just haven't reprinted that one in forever.
It was part of Brothers War, so it's like it's not that crazy old,
There.
you know. But
You got me there.
I don't know. I just it's cool. It's a nice land to have in here.
I love the Pain Lands, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Uh,
never really like come back to bite me in a 40 life format.
we
That
already
they just become like cheap duels.
Yeah, we already talked about stuff like Psy being in the deck. Psy is ridiculous with the construct thingy that makes the Thopters we were talking about. Combustible Gear Hulk is a stupid fun little friend to make
Yeah,
token
baby.
copies of. Every time it enters, you're either going to threaten somebody for damage or get free cards out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Duplicant is super spicy as well. Again, another really silly thing to make token copies of with
I
Sahili. It
like it,
just
dude.
Perpetual
This
Exile
really
as
is
they.
just a Timur Mishra deck.
It is, yeah.
It's just what flavor do you want? Do it green or black attached?
As these tokens die, you'll start getting energy off of Aetherworks Marvel, making its
Yeah, you
second
will.
reprint debut into an energy shell. Really, really cool. We love Marvel. Conjurer's Closet is also in here too. So again,
Very
it
good one.
pairs with the Parent Harmonicon. Yeah, it's a very cool shell. This is what I was saying at the beginning of this review, is just like this is doing some very proactive things with the energy counters. It almost kind of doesn't even really feel like an energy deck per se. It just the creatures that you are making token copies of or blinking or making duplicates of with like this Sahili or the other Sahili planeswalker that's in here as well. It's like the energy is just the resource that you're using to start generating all of this value.
Mm-hmm.
It's super neat, but we can improve this.
Better hope your pod's not playing Solemnity.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why the Druid of Purification is in there. I'm gonna hit your
Solemnity,
solemnity.
please.
So let's make some additions in here to improve what this deck is trying to
Talk to
do.
me about it.
Um, as joked about, we've had two other energy precons plus the original Kaladesh block that was featured energy, and then most recently last year was Modern Horizons 3, which also had a focus on energy as well. So that's kind of where I am pulling these ads
You got
into
some
this.
stuff to work with.
Yeah, we want to have the biggest focus in additions that I wanted to do is if you're using Sahili as your commander, you want your token copies coming into play to either A, be benefited off of becoming a 5/5, or B, care about creating energy either as they come in or as they go swinging. That'll
Hmm.
keep your engines going. Engines. Um,
Hey,
that'll keep them going as you are creating these token copies. So some simple stuff like Scrapper Champion or Imperial Voyager. These are both just like little uncommons from the original Kaladesh block. Voyager is one green and a blue. Flying trample that when it deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. So it's kind of like the Trailblazer that we were talking about before, but also benefits off of becoming a 5/5 because it retains its flying and trample.
very sick.
Very cool. Scrapper Champion, same thing. Three in a red. Human Artificer, also an Artificer, so that works with Sahili. Uh, Double Strike enters, you get two energy counters, and when it attacks, you can pay two energy. If you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So again, if you disregard that part of it, Sahili will have it come in as a 5/5. It'll be a 5/5
With
double strike.
double strike,
With double strike. That's pretty whack.
a casual 10/10.
Mm-hmm. Other fun artifacty things I found to go into combat with a Sutron Dominator from the Fallout deck.
Okay.
One, one in a red. It's a 2/2 artifact creature robot. When it enters the battlefield, you get two energy, and when an artifact creature you control attacks, you may pay energy. If you do, put a choice of a +1/+1 counter, first strike, or trample counter on that creature.
Dope.
So you let this one sit there, then Sahili start making 5/5 copies of it, that it then replenishes two of your energy as it comes into play. And then the original will see the token copy go to combat, and you can give it like a +1/+1 counter, or a first strike counter, or a trample counter, whatever's most relevant to you at the time,
I'm in.
if you want to. Very,
I
very
like it.
neat. I wanted to take advantage of the fact that Sahili can make token permanent copies, and we do want to play in here Vault 112 Sadistic Simulation from the Fallout deck as well.
Okay. So we're
Um,
making a copy of a saga.
Making a copy of a saga for a few turns. Obviously, your original saga will kill itself at some point, but
Right.
this saga in specifically makes you energy counters. Two blue and a red. On lore chapters 1 and 2, you tap up to one target creature and put a stun counter on it, and you get two energy. And its third lore counter is pay any amount of energy. If you paid one or more energy this way, shuffle your library, then exile that many cards from the top. You may play one of those cards without paying its mana cost.
Yep.
So you
There's your
get
time
this
twister.
get this one down. Sahili makes copies of it. You're stunning down more things and generating more
Gaining
energy
energy.
back so that you have a bigger dump into your original when it's ready to pop off.
Very, very cool.
It's very cool. And then we start looking at the Modern Horizons cards as well. I've got Overclocked Electromancer from the Satya deck. Two in a red for a 2/2 Lizard Wizard. At the
Yes,
beginning
sir.
at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can pay three energy. If you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Electromancer. When it attacks, you double its power until end of turn. That's important with Sahili because the token
Oh
copy
my
version
god.
would be a 5/5. That's even more important because it goes
Man,
into its third
10/5.
ability. Yep. It rolls into its third ability when it's got its doubled power. Is that when it deals combat damage to a creature, if that creature was dealt excess damage this turn, you get X energy, where X is the excess damage.
Oh, nice. So it's like either hits them for 10 or gets you a billion energy.
Stupid. Very, very
Beautiful.
stupid. Is it
Sure, jump
generate
with your 1/1. I'll take 9 energy.
is it
Oh yeah.
generatorium?
Generatorium.
Generatorium, thank you. If it's more than 3 syllables,
I
I'm
got
out.
you. Don't worry.
Blue red, if you would get one or more energy, instead you get that much +1 instead. So this is just going to exponentially double your
Yeah, of
output
course.
of
It's hardened
energies.
scales for energy.
Yep. And it taps to draw a card, activate only if you've paid or lost 4 or more energy this turn, which you
Yeah.
can almost do all the way with Sahili.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Very, very cool. Another really fun energy output card is going to be Aether Revolt, also from Modern Horizons.
Whoa.
2 and double red enchantment. Revolt, as long as you've had a permanent leave the battlefield this turn. If a source if a source of non-combat damage would be dealt to an opponent or a permanent they control, it deals that much damage +2. And whenever you get 1 or more energy, Aether Revolt deals that much damage to any target.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's very cool. It's like another version of the Generatorium.
Yeah.
That thing.
Generatorium.
Generatorium. Jeez, I said it once and I still didn't
It's
get
all
it.
right.
Yep. One more before we get to the combo. One more spicy one from the Modern Horizons one. I thought it was really fun. I saw somebody point out Cyclops Superconductor. One blue and a red
Mm-hmm.
for one blue and a red for a 2/2 Cyclops wizard with prowess. When it enters, you get 3 energy, and when it dies, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, Cyclops Superconductor deals damage equal to its power to any target. Guess
5.
what? Guess what
5
happens to this?
damage.
Guess what happens to the Sahili tokens at end of turn?
Get sacrificed.
5 damage every turn on a 5/5 with prowess.
Pretty bonkers.
That's quite silly. And then the combo that I feel like you could add into here as well is using one of the cards from the original Kaladesh block, Greenbelt Rampager. Greenbelt Rampager is a
Yep.
green mana for a 3/4 that when it enters, you pay 2 energy counters. If you can't, you return it to your hand and you get an energy. You can pair this off with the Modern Horizons card Primal Prayers.
Yes, sir.
Primal Prayers, 2 and double green. It's a play on the Legacy All-Star
Allurin.
Allurin. Yeah. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and you can cast creature spells with mana value 3 or less by paying energy rather than paying its mana cost. And if you cast a spell this way, you can cast it as though it had flash. The 2 cards by themselves don't get you anywhere. You just have a constant elephant that comes in, goes back to hand, pay an energy, comes back in. So the 2 cards by itself doesn't do anything for you.
It is
But
technically infinite energy that you're just spending one at a time to keep going, which I see where
technically,
you're going with this. Something like with Aether Revolt, where whenever you get an energy, it deals a damage to something. I'm tracking.
yep. But that would be my changes that I would do to this deck. And overall, I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's quite cool. Like energy to me is still kind of one of those I'm mid
Sure.
on it, like it is it's a parasitic mechanic, that
Of
like
course.
you can't really be playing 1 or 2 off pieces of this mechanic without other support in your deck to backbone it, and that then forces your deck to be all one type of mechanic in it. And
Yes.
that doesn't breed tons of extra like creativity into the deck because you don't get lots of extra choices on what the support of the deck needs to be.
Yeah,
But
it kind of has like quote unquote auto includes because it's like, well, I'm playing an energy deck, so I have to play the energy cards.
but like yes, this deck is obviously filled with a lot of pieces that care about their energy. There's a lot here that doesn't, and that also they still just synergize with what Sahili's looking to do, with what
Right.
Pea's looking to do. If you took out the Nissa that we were talking about, right? Mono green landfall is a very popular deck. You could just build a landfall deck that just happens to give you an
Oh, yeah.
omniscience after your 4th landfall trigger, I
Easy.
suppose. Like I
That's
like
an
it.
extra land per turn and 2 fetches, and you get to play something for free. This is
Yep.
all cards that you're already playing in mono green landfall.
Yep,
Very,
I'm
very
here
sick.
for it. I still don't see myself buying a deck like
Sure.
this, but if you are an energy enjoyer, if you're also a big fan of this world and this mechanic as a whole,
Totally.
I think of there is now enough selection from the years past that it just last year, to be perfectly honest, there is enough selection now that you could buy this and make changes and modifications to whatever you feel is the best direction to build the deck into. And like the lack of creativity design that I was talking about here, like I said, there's enough external pieces now that I feel like that's not too much of a concern if you
Definitely.
have to play the energy. I I like I said, I still probably wouldn't be buying this, but of the energy decks that we have seen over this past year, this one is by far my favorite.
I love it. We sort of have an unspoken rule here on the Thoughtcast of sort of doing budgety upgrades. But can we talk about how bananas doubling season would be in this deck?
It would be.
Like, this deck cares exclusively about putting counters on a player and making tokens. This might be the best doubling season deck that I've ever seen because you can use Sahili and make a copy of doubling season that would be 2 additional copies of doubling season that then get you 1, 2, 3, like to the exponent of 3 whenever you make energy because it doubles, doubles, doubles.
You can pick up a Foundations copy of Doubling Season for about $30.
Yeah, that still is like more than I would recommend for like a precon. You also like you're really entering into some realm of like, is it really an upgraded precon if you're putting doubling season in the deck?
True, fair,
Um,
but that's better than it used to
but
be.
for sure, if you've got like this deck and $40, please put a doubling season in it.